speaker, he will discuss the applicability of the 15-minute city concept to Philippine cities. So please help me welcome ENP Marion Maica R. Tino. So he is a licensed environmental planner and he has helped Philippine national government agencies and local governments in disaster risk reduction, development planning, and land use planning. ENP Marion is also a board director of the Philippine Institute of Environmental Planners NCR chapter, and he advocates for protected bicycle infrastructure because of his personal desire that his daughter, now 5 years old, will be able to bike to school safely soon. Yeah, please help me welcome ENP Marion Micah R. Tino.
Hello? Ayan, okay na ba? Ayan, okay. Sige. Hi, everyone. Ian Pitinho here again. Okay na po ba? Naririnig na ako. Ayan, sige. Um, so this presentation was part of the 2022 study that was supported by the Friedrich Naumann Foundation Philippines. It's I hope it will be a good conversation starter for our planners, particularly those who are joining from or planners from our major cities and metropolitan regions. So, sige. This is the applicability of the 15-minute city concept in the Philippines. You see the QR code on the upper right. You can use it para makuha niyo po yung website or yung link dun sa full study which we completed in 2022. So this is sort of a desk research during that time kasi medyo mababa din ang funding nitong project na ito. But I hope it can be an inspiration to our particularly city planners. So what can you do in 15 minutes if we create cities where goods and services are available and accessible through walking, cycling, and public transportation? We can live, play, and work better than we do today. So next slide shows the definition of the 15-minute city, which are cities that have goods and services that are accessible within 15 minutes of walking, cycling, or using public transportation. This is a proximity based planning intervention that was popularized by Professor Carlos Moreno. And as you can see in the diagram on the right, it shows that in 15 minutes, you can eat healthy, you can learn, you can stay active, and you can get around because the cities are created with walking, cycling, and public transportation in mind. So the 15-minute city also shows us, sige, next slide please, that shorter distances can be used to promote the use of more sustainable transport modes. We know that the car can take us far and in many places, but the question is how sustainable are our travels daily? So siguro this is my first question in this presentation. In the chat, let me know from your home which services that are important to you can you reach within 15 minutes of walking, biking, or public transportation. So, lagay nyo lang dyan para mapuno yung ating chat. And makita din natin kung yung inyo bang mga cities or neighborhoods are already have already hints or aspects of 15-minute city. So I myself personally can reach my grocery store, can reach yung meron din kaming malapit na medical clinic, and meron din kaming malapit na education center actually. In my previous in the previous years, merong akong I work in Ortigas right now and affiliated with an NGO ng headquarters ay nasa uh, Ortigas Center. Previously, last year, I need 1.5 hours dahil kailangan kong mag-bus, mag-jeep, at maglakad para makarating ako ng office. But now, because of my procurement of an electric scooter, yung 1.5 hour na yun, kaya na siya within 30 minutes. So, a sustainable transport mode that enables me to reach work with actually more than half the time, less than half the time that I used to spend. So yung mga iba nagsasabi meron mga restaurants, meron mga community malls, meron mga hospital and grocery. So you see that that 15-minute city is already showing or being demonstrated in some aspects of our neighborhood. So this really is just some a reinforcing lecture on or reinforce a, a way to reinforce that all cities can be 15-minute cities if we apply the following principles. So, bakit nga ba natin gusto ng 15-minute city? In the next slide, we see a summary of the different benefits of 15-minute cities. So, there are environmental benefits. I want you to focus on the last one, more appropriate use of spaces. In our cities right now, namumroblema ang ating mga local governments dahil kulang tayo sa car parking, kulang tayo sa mga roads. But in 15-minute cities around the world, we see that they are able, and I will demonstrate in some examples how they are able to use more appropriately the spaces that are limited, especially in our urban and metropolitan centers. In the social aspect, there are opportunities for more health benefits as we conduct or as we perform our daily duties. Pagpasok natin ng school or pagpasok ng work, pwede tayong maglakad or mag-bike or mag-use ng public transport dahil our city, the 15-minute city allows us to do so. And even me as a parent, I can accompany my daughter papunta ng eskwelahan dahil malapit lang at hindi kailangan magmadali para dahil kailangan makarating kaagad sa mga sa ibang mga destinations. So there are also opportunities for easier access to social functions. Ayan, kahit mga zoo, kahit mga bangko, yung iba may mga hair salons malapit sa kanila, and note na hindi lang needs kundi kahit yung wants natin ay pwede nating mas maging reachable kung tayo ay magkakaroon ng mga 15-minute cities. In the economic aspect, ang gusto kong i-focus dito is the opportunity for startup businesses. In 15-minute cities, there are opportunities not only for the large corporations, but also, if done properly, for the micro, small, and medium enterprises. So, how can we proceed with transforming our cities into 15-minute cities? So, in the next few slides, sige, next slide na lang, we present four 15-minute city core principles. And this is based on a study by, on the studies by Carlos Moreno, which were also promoted or advocated by C40. And hopefully, we can explore some, even all of these core principles in our planning processes para rin mas makita natin kung ano ba yung mga actionable strategies para sa ating mga cities. So proximity, access with less cost and effort, diversity, diverse cultures in our cities from different backgrounds, density, strengthening relationships and promoting mixed building models, and ubiquity, or being able to access all services every time we need them. So in terms of proximity, next slide please. There are 15-minute cities have the opportunity, sorry, residents of 15-minute cities have the opportunities to reach basic and daily needs through walking and cycling. And it's been done all around the world through converting our parking spaces to bicycle lanes and also increasing open spaces or green spaces in our cities. In Melbourne, for example, you can see on the right that they have this local livability study that provides insights for improving existing cities infrastructure by demonstrating how the city residents meet their needs. So meron diyang housing, meron on food environment, meron on public transportation. And those are also being supported actually in the Philippines by the different agencies. Ang panawagan ko lang sa ating mga planners na nandito ngayon, let's start measuring how our citizens live through these examples of uh, metrics. So the next is diversity. So diversity is in terms of participation of residents in policymaking and planning. Our local process, our CLUP process already has participation in its DNA. And I think yung diversity na ito ay kailangan na lang nating i-implement dun sa ating pag consider ng housing, ng transportation. So, isang example dyan, yung ginawa ng Portland dun sa kanilang anti-displacement action plan. So, it aimed to reduce the impacts of involuntary displacement because of rising prices and gentrification. So, studies have shown that as cities develop, the core becomes more valuable and land in the core becomes higher in value. And itong ginawa ng Portland actually is tiningnan nila how they can reduce the impacts of involuntary displacement by mapping out the opportunities that are available around for their citizens. So next is yung density. How have 15-minute cities uh, in the international scene address density? Why do we want to address density? Because we want to promote social interactions through designing for it. Okay? Gusto kong i-emphasize yon. We want to design for social interactions. And we know na the closer we are to each other, we can it increases our potential for social interaction. So isang example dyan yung napakasikat na super blocks in Barcelona. So it was created by grouping blocks and restricting vehicular traffic. Increasing green areas. Gusto kong kuhanin nyo tong ano na to, measurement na to. From 9,700 square meters to 18,600 square meters. So double the amount or double the volume of green areas were promoted because of restricting vehicular traffic and grouping blocks. Ano ba yung benefit pag meron tayong mas maraming green areas? Ang sabi ng isang study, 5 minutes lang daw sa isang green area will increase your social perspective of social life by around 20 to 25%. So it also increased the number of ground level commercial establishments by 31%. So hindi lang siya social benefit, kundi economic benefit din. So last principle is ubiquity. So all services available all at once for everyone. So actually ginagawa na ito ng mga cities natin through our basic services that are available in digital platforms, but also yung pagkakaroon natin ng telework or yung pag-promote natin ng remote work is also a way para ma-increase natin yung pagiging or ma-decrease natin yung ating oras dun sa pag-reach ng ating work. So in Milan, for example, they implemented the Citizens Digital File, which contains personal information of residents for online citizen services. A number of our cities are also implementing this. Ako as a Quezon City resident, accessible sa atin yung business processing, yung business licensing, and even applying for a Quezon City ID all online. So hindi lang yung services, kundi pati yung pagbibigay ng feedback. Sa Bogota, they they receive public participation through an open platform where citizens propose street redesigns. And I think that's also been done by our cities. So, anong point ko dito? If in the next slide, we summarize these 4 principles which are already present in your cities. And I want to give us inspiration that the 15-minute city in the Philippines is not really a dream, but really an upcoming reality. Kasi meron naman na tayong density, meron na tayong mga online services, and the thing to do right now is just to promote cases that are good para rin magaya ng ating mga planners all around the country. So, the example that we did or the case that we studied in our 2022 study was that of Valenzuela City. And hopefully makita nyo dito yung mga iba't ibang aspects din ng inyong mga cities that apply to the first four core principles. So in Valenzuela, for example, dun sa slide 14, makikita natin na meron na sila, next please, digitalization of job services. So online jobs, both local and outside the city are available to the residents. So ibig sabihin, hindi na kailangan ng mga tao na talagang magpunta doon sa mga companies para sila ay mag-apply. And then next is ito yung isa ring naging inspiration namin, which right now is being done in certain cities also outside of Metro Manila. So yung pedestrianization ng isa nilang major street, which was linking residential areas to the MacArthur Highway. So isang major thoroughfare doon sa Valenzuela. So imbis na maging daanan lang siya ng sasakyan at maging transport link, nung pinedestrianize siya, ay nag-provide ito ng residents, ay ng opportunities sa mga residents, not only for social, not only for transport, but also for economic activities. Last example na nakita namin sa Valenzuela is yung diversity of parks. So, iba't ibang klaseng parks ang meron sa Valenzuela. Hindi lang puro basketball court, hindi lang puro multipurpose hall, hindi lang puro mga gazebo. Meron silang mga family parks, meron silang mga fishing villages, meron silang mga history parks. And this diversity of purposes align with our previous presented na principle ng 'di ba? 15-minute city. Kahit sino pwedeng pumunta sa isang park at masasatisfy yung kanilang needs for social and even mental satisfaction. So, ano ba yung mga challenges? Ay, opportunities muna pala. Ano ba yung mga opportunities na meron tayo na pwede nating itap for creating 15-minute cities in the Philippines? So, meron na tayong mga funding for parks and open spaces. Of course, you know this better than me, being in the local government, how to access the Green program. And even kung hindi man nationally funded, meron tayong mga opportunities for pocket green parks. We have guidelines online, search nyo lang. Merong mga how we can produce open spaces with limited space available. So, ang importante kasi sa parks and open spaces in the 15-minute city is that these are reachable and usable. In the context of the COVID-19, for example, merong mga parks tayo na nabuksan, pero isinara din dahil sa threats of spreading the virus. But again, these are things that can be discussed in more detail as we plan. So, second opportunity that we have in the Philippines is yung historical and cultural village making. Yung mga cities natin actually, kaya marami sa atin nakaka-reach ng bank, nakaka-reach ng school, nakaka-reach ng church within walking distance is dahil dun sa Spanish influence na rin sa ating mga cities. And we can leverage that. So, hindi na kailangan magsasakyan para magsimba dahil isa rin yan sa mga nakikita natin na practice nating mga Pilipino. So, pwedeng maglakad papunta sa kainan kung ating isa-celebrate, for example, ang graduation o birthday dahil meron tayong mga malapit na services. So, ganun din yung mga basic services natin sa barangay. Ako, naglalakad lang ako papunta sa aming barangay hall dahil walkable siya. So, kahit yung mga hindi na kailangan gumastos para kumuha, for example, ng cedula or barangay clearance. So, movements for open data in the next slide. are also applicable dito sa 15-minute city. The policy can provide an accessible platform to encourage public participation. Even us, external researchers, can help the local and national government in terms of their planning needs. So, pang-apat na opportunity is yung shifting policy natin in housing. When we were conducting the desk research for this, we saw that housing projects of the government are already integrating the cultural and economic features that families need. Yung isa naming nakitang case study, in-extend ng mga families na naka-receive ng housing projects yung existing na 20 square meter house into 72 square meters para ma-maximize yung kanilang pangangailangan. So, in-city relocation also allows poor households to live near places of work and social services. Kaya sinusuportahan ko ang ating DSUD, ang ating mga iba't ibang agencies din dun sa ating kagustuhan na yung ating mga relocation sites ay talagang in city para rin ma-address natin yung threat of yung isa sa mga challenges na ipe-present ko mamaya, which is gentrification. So lastly, sorry, second to the last pala, we have existing policies for flexible work arrangements. And again, the telecommuting law has been there since 2018, which provides for private employers to offer programs on a voluntary basis. And then in June of 2022, there are also flexible working arrangements for government employees, at least at that time. I don't know the update right now. Pero kami sa ina-attendan ko, sa pinagtatrabahoan kong NGO, we are only required to report 50% of the time. So it helps me also in my personal uh, life. So, importante rin na leverage natin yung mga existing policies na ito, not only as a traffic congestion strategy, but for the productivity and social wellness of our society. Last opportunity is yung mga existing standards. Meron po tayong standards sa local government planning. We have standards as requirement for recreational facilities. We also have standards in terms of the distances of social services to our commercial areas. And if we follow these standards, at least we are starting to provide social services near our citizens. So I believe the DSUD is also working towards enhancing these standards, and hopefully pag nagkaroon nun, we can I encourage our local planners to support kasi yung mga standards na yan are also recognized internationally. So, kung meron tayong mga challenges, ayan, in summary, so, gusto ko i-highlight dyan yung number 2. Our cities are already arranged for 15-minute city-ness. So, ibig sabihin, konti na lang ang kailangan nating i-work around para yung ating mga tao, mga residents, ay maka-reach ng mga importanteng services within 15 minutes of walking, cycling, and public transport. So ano ba yung mga challenges na nakita namin? First is yung low funding allocation for road-based public transport, and I hope kung hindi kaya ng national, we in the local government support our transport groups in their effort to provide the basic service of public transportation. So roads can become congested kung tayo po ay susuporta lang dun sa ating mga private car users. Second is a 2021 study found that only 4 to 6% of Filipino employed workers are in occupations where tasks are teleworkable. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan talaga meron tayong local job opportunities. Malapit sa tirahan ng mga tao, malapit sa mga transport, mga commercial areas kung saan din makaka-access yung ating mga residents ng mga basic transportation services. So having in-city jobs that are accessible to residential communities will prevent lost productivity and time. Kung hindi man kaya mag-remote work lahat, maaari namang maglakad or mag-bike or mag bus papunta sa ating mga ah, companies dahil ito ay malapit lang sa ating tirahan. Sorry. So, third challenge, and this is a challenge that I hope will become addressed by our local governments and national governments concerned. Unprotected bicycle lanes. In the context of international 15-minute cities, kung titingnan niyo po yung full study, they all started because they provided bicycle infrastructure for the residents. Although our national policy already integrates bicycle lanes along national roads, and not all roads need bicycle lanes, actually, we should make our roads safer for bicycle users and walk pedestrians alike. So painted bicycle lanes may be a start, but we hope that yung physical separation and at the same time protection of our bicycle lanes will be the way forward. Fourth is the threat of gentrification. So, sabi ko nga, kapag pinaganda natin yung isang lugar, maaring meron tayong maging pagtaas din sa property values which existing residents may not be able to afford. So, gentrification displaces original settlers in the Philippine cities. And in this case, we need to have inclusive and participatory planning para magkaroon tayo ng ano dito ng ma-address natin itong threat na ito. This is one of the most critical major critics of the 15-minute city concept in that it fails to address the threat of gentrification. But in the Philippines, we can address this by again following the basic laws that we have, providing in-city resettlement, providing mixed use and dense resettlements inside our cities so that those who are not in the those who are in the lower income class of our societies can again reach our services better. So makikita nyo dyan sa mapa na yan, dun sa nasa right, is meron talagang change in the percentage of uh, rent-free occupation dahil dun sa change in the zonal value which is demonstrating gentrification. So, isa yan sa pwede nating i-address sa pamamagitan ng more inclusive and more participatory planning. Lastly is yung traditional zoning paradigm. So, Filipino culture of multiple use buildings and housing ay kailangan ma-integrate na dun sa ating zoning and land use paradigm, which our current use-based zoning has not been able to address dahil nga yung pag-use-based zoning yan, medyo may encourage natin yung paglalayo-layo ng mga use. So, mas nagiging dependent siya sa ating mga automobiles. And isa sa mga nandun na rin naman sa ating guidelines but kinakailangan pa rin ng technical assistance sa ating mga LGUs is yung pag-use ng form-based coding. So it can promote place-based urbanism and planning by creating zones of urban intensity and create mixed use, thereby more walkable and bikeable communities. I will not delve into yung pagkakaroon ng form-based, kung ano yung meron dun sa form-based coding. Pero I believe that this DSUD is already exploring other zoning paradigms para rin yung ating mga cities especially are more bikeable, more walkable, and more reachable in terms of public transportation. So these challenges, ano ba yung na-experience nyo dito sa lima na ito? I myself, as a biker, believe that if we provide bicycle lanes or safer streets for bicycles and light electric vehicles in our streets, we can level up yung pagiging 15-minute city ng ating mga syudad sa Metro Manila. So, way forward is to assess our city. This is not my study, but I found this 2025 study by Maniago et al. Where they measured yung pagiging 15-minute city ng Pasig. And this is GIS based. Almost all of our LGUs have GIS capabilities. And makikita nyo dito sa nandito sa mapa na ito, mataas yung 15-minute score ng halos buong Pasig City. Ibig sabihin, reachable yung mga services dun sa kanilang mga residente. So, ito ay isang paraan para yung ating mga planners sa iba't ibang lugar, hindi lang sa NCR, ay magsimula para magplano dun sa ating pagiging 15-minute city. Bakit? Kasi 15-minute cities in the Philippines are challenging but rewarding. 15-minute cities have multiple benefits, economic, social, and environmental. And with this, I hope you saw in the cases and examples that adopting the 15-minute city approach in the Philippines is possible. We already have our historical arrangements, we already have our existing policies, and the thing that we need to do really is to include everyone in the plan. So, persisting political local and traditional challenge can be addressed by leveraging the existing opportunities that are already available to our cities and national policy. Salamat po.
Thank you. The question is, how can the 15-minute city concept be realistically applied in highly urbanized but especially fragmented areas like in Metro Manila? So this is a question for ENP Marion, sir.
Hello. Okay ba? Ayan. Ah, kasasagot ko lang actually yan dun sa sa Q&A. Pero I personally believe we in Metro Manila ay hindi spatially fragmented. Kailangan lang natin ng policies that are parang yung institutions natin kailangan ano siya, ma, mas maging harmonized. Yan. So, diyan papasok, for example, yung ating mga national government agencies, yung lalo na yung MMDA at DOTR, at least in the transportation perspective. Kasi sila yung makakapagbuo. Iba kasi yung context, for example, sa provinces, sa provincial cities natin na or component cities natin, for example, sa provinces na meron silang provincial government na pwedeng theoretically mag-harmonize. Pero in Metro Manila, siguro ang kailangan natin is yun talaga, magkaroon ng framework yung ating Metro Manila Council, yung ating Metro Manila Development Authority, at makiisa yung mga LGUs, yung 17 LGUs na yan. Isa rin na pwede is, at sa tingin ko mas feasible, is magsimula sa maliliit na lugar. Yung mga barangay chairpersons natin ang pwedeng maging start kasi nga sila yung nakakaalam kung ano yung mga services na wala pa doon sa kanilang paligid. So, I think kung hindi kayahin ng top-down at mas magiging feasible sa tingin ko yung bottom-up approach from the barangay. Thank you for that question.
For ENP Marion, eto, from a planning perspective, what are the first steps a local government unit in the Philippines should take if they want to adopt the 15-minute city core principles?
Okay, hi. May bias po ako ng konti kasi I am a sustainable transport advocate. And well, based from literature din po ng 15-minute cities, the first step really is to promote active transportation. And that is through providing safe walking and safe cycling infrastructure and areas. So hindi po natin kailangan ng bike bridges, hindi po natin kailangan ng mga pedestrian overpass. Ang kailangan po natin ay mga sidewalks up to standard and roads that are slow enough para yung mga nagbabike ay safe. So I think those basic steps that are already required by our laws, particularly yung bagong updated na IRR ng accessibility law and yung mga different JMCs din ng mga transport and public works memorandums natin ay basically yun po yung sagot para sa akin. Kailangan po nating maengganyo yung mga naglalakad, yung mga hindi naglalakad na maglakad, pero parang sa akin mas priority po yung mas maging safe yung mga naglalakad na at mga nagbabike na through safer walkways and bike infrastructure. Salamat po.
For ENP Marion, is the 15-minute city concept still attractive to the people? Since the AQI in the major cities are quite alarming, almost the same with cases of China and India. So is the 15-minute city concept still attractive to the people, sir?
Hello? Okay ba? Okay. I believe so. Kasi marami pa rin tayong nakikitang naglalakad ngayon, di ba? We have, at least in Quezon City, for example, we have seen yung mayroon silang daily na release ng air quality index o local air quality index. And lagi naman yung halos good. So, I believe it's not a question of encouraging people to walk but making them again safer. So kasama dun yung air quality conditions and isa yun sa mga magiging benefits kapag mas na-encourage natin yung karamihan na mag-walk at mag-cycle. Our local air quality may improve kasi theoretically mas kukonti yung mga sasakyan na gagamitin natin. So to answer it, uh, it may depend on the personal preference but yung visual nating experience sa ngayon and in our study rin dun sa NGO na connected ako, halos 30% ng mga estudyante dun sa high school na pinag-aralan namin naglalakad all the way to school, walking as far as 2 kilometers away. So ibig sabihin attractive yun. Hindi lang attractive, kundi needed. Siguro yun yung mas importante sa atin eh. Kailangan kasi nilang maglakad dahil wala silang access or wala silang kakayahan na mag-provide ng ibang transportation. And that forms part of yung tinatawag nating diversity of uses dun sa 15-minute city. So, yun po. Yun po ang aking mahabang sagot na hopefully na-address yung inyong query. Salamat po.